Hello again. So now we're going to look at seasonal pulses. I know students do not like pulses, and most practitioners have trouble with them also. They take forever to learn, and really we should have a mentor with us and be apprenticing for decades learning how to do pulse. But most of us don't, so let's talk a little bit about a normal pulse, but a normal pulse within the seasons. So as we know, each season has a yin or yang aspect to it. So of course, winter is yin within yin. Spring is yang within yin because the yang is rising. Summer is yang within yang, very yang season. It's hot, all the energy is out there. And then fall is yin within yang because the yin is in a sense growing within the yang and the yang is depleting in the atmosphere. So remembering that, our bodies are always striving for homeostasis. So when a new seasonal atmosphere comes in, then our body's going to adjust so that we are matching that energy. And that is what a healthy body does. So what are your seasonal pulses then? You need to be able to subtract the seasonal pulse from the pulse you're feeling, in a sense. Now, I know this can take a long time, and that's fine. That's how it goes. But if you live in an environment where there's very strong season change, for example, here in BC and Victoria, the spring is very, very strong in around end of January. On the East Coast, where there's lots of snow, the winter season is very, very strong. And so you see it with all of the patients. And I'll give a couple examples after we talk about the pulses. So the spring season, like I said, this is now yang qi is rising in the atmosphere. Look at all the plants that are growing, spring fever, right? Everyone can feel like, oh, I feel like I've just woken up from a big sleep. So that's because the yang qi is more available in the air. So what do you think that's going to do to your pulse according to 3-level pulse? Well, it's going to raise it from the deep levels. And it's wood season, so there's a slight wiry sensation to it. So this pulse, according to the 3 levels, should be somewhere around the middle at its strongest. Of course, you'll have a feeling in all 3 areas, but the middle will be the strongest, and it will feel slightly wiry. Important because you don't want to be giving everyone a liver qi stasis treatment in the spring if you understand that that slight wiry pulse is normal. And it should be throughout all the pulses. And that's healthy. It means your body's adjusting nicely. In the summer, yang within yang, of course, the yang is even higher in the atmosphere, so it's going to push that pulse up even more, and it's more hot out. So we have a more superficial pulse, and it is flooding or overflowing, we hear a lot. It might be slightly more rapid, but actually pace does not have a lot to do with it. It's more the quality of the pulse. And in Lizzie Shen, I call it the Bloated Handbook. This is a wonderful classic. There we go. This one's beautiful, simply worded text. So according to him, he says it's like a hook. So it's at the top and you feel this kind of hook sensation and an overflowing because there's so much yang energy. Normal. And in the fall, remember that this is yin within yang. So the yang is falling out of the season and yin is rising. So this is a confusing one. So think about it. What do you think this one is? And you might be thinking, well, maybe it went to the middle or on its, to deep, but it didn't actually. It's actually like the center came out of it. So it's still superficial or a floating pulse, but it is fine and it is empty. So in Li Zishan, he says it feels like a hair. And then that's because the energy is coming down. So part of it's come down. And in the winter, the pulse goes very deep to the bottom level and it feels firm. And Li Zishan says like a stone. And that is healthy. Okay, so for example, when I worked on the East Coast in Newfoundland and very strong winter, as soon as November hit, I'm not kidding, like to the day, all of our patients, their pulses would fall right to the bottom and be very firm. Sorry, all of our patients who weren't too out of balance, and it would fall to the bottom and be quite firm. It was just wild how it all changed on one day. And you had to remember, oh wait, it's the winter seasons here. It's not that everyone suddenly has severe deficiency in their body. It's just it's went down, but then it's a firm feeling. And then in Victoria, where there's this really strong early spring, you'd see all the pulses raise up really high end of January, beginning of February. And of course, if you think about this too, in Victoria, with this early spring, you'd have all these patients coming in with, what do you think? Headache, dizziness, panic attacks, anxiety, this kind of stuff, because the energy is just, whoo, and it's almost too strong at that time of year. And then in Newfoundland, where it was that very strong winter, people would come in, a sunken pulse, and then everyone would be, not everyone, I've exaggerated a bit, a lot of patients would be very scared, fear, winter, about the sadness, seasonal affective, or depression coming on. It would really hit them on that day because their energy just went in. So one more little note before I go. If you have someone in the summer where the pulse is supposed to be where? At the top, and they have this very deep and weak pulse, this is not a great pulse because they are in fact opposite to the season, okay? And same in the winter, if they have this huge big flooding pulse and that's their normal pulse, this is very unhealthy because it is the exact opposite of the season. Their body's not in harmony with the season at all. Okay, one more thing, I lied. The rate, the rhythm, it's called the Shen of the pulse, is kind of your most important thing. So if a person has a pulse that's a little bit imbalanced, not quite with the season, but the rate is really regular, the rhythm is really regular, then you probably have a good prognosis. But if the pulse is not with the season and the rate is irregular and all over the place, then you may have a poor prognosis, and perhaps that's even a referral. So there you go. Watch this one a few times over so you get those pulse feelings or lessons in your head, and then I want you to go into your clinic, whatever season it is, maybe you're going to do it right now in the winter, and see if you're feeling deeper and firmer pulses, or whatever season you're in, feel for that, and watch for the season change, especially if where you live there is a strong season change. All right.